very excited to have this man on. His Texas Longhorns made the national semifinals last year and are highly touted coming into this year once again. Steve Sarkisian back on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, Rich. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
What do things look like for you middle of August? Where are we right now in your preps?
We're hot. It's hot in Austin, Texas. I can tell you that.
You could do the traffic for me too, right? Here on the 3.
So, excuse me. I'm sorry.
No, we could do the traffic and weather together right here.
Yes, exactly. No, we essentially for us, we wrapped up what we would call training camp Saturday.
Okay.
We had our second scrimmage. So that was about 2.5 weeks of that. And now this week we kind of do a mock week. We do a mock game, kind of like our own preseason game this coming Saturday, and we take the players through what a normal work week would look like from a meeting schedule, practice plan, so on and so forth. And then next Monday we'll start school with that same schedule, and then we open up with Colorado State August 31st at 2:30 and Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium. So it's going to be a little bit warm in the opener.
Absolutely. And then obviously the next week's game is one that is certainly on my personal radar screen, as well as that of so many other college football fans at Michigan. Have you ever been to the Big House, Steve?
I have never been to the Big House. I've never been to Ann Arbor. I'm excited. I think that's one of the beauties now, I will say this, of being at a Texas and playing in Michigan, but also now with the college football playoff having expanding, that we're not necessarily going to get punished, either one of us, if the game doesn't go the way we want it to go. We're almost like you get rewarded for playing those games. Granted, we're both in two great conferences in the SEC and the Big Ten. And I think that's what the fans are looking for too, are these types of early season games. Last 2 years we played Alabama out of conference. This year we'll go to Michigan. Next year we go to Ohio State. And so we look forward to those opportunities. I know our kids do, our coaches do. I think it serves as a great motivator in the off season, knowing you're playing the defending national champs on the road in the Big House. And it's a great opportunity for us.
But it's interesting how, because that is true. I mean, back in the day, a game like this, the loser's out. You know what I mean? Week 2, loser out. Your chances to win a national championship hobbled is an understatement. But now, obviously you can move on it, and dare I say it, it sounds more like professional football, Steve, in that regard.
I wouldn't venture too far off of what you're saying. When you think about now, the length of our season, we're opening up August 31st, Labor Day weekend. The national championship game is January 20th. And you're talking about it may take 16 to 17 games to try to go win a national championship. And so the fact that I can get our players some exposure against a really quality opponent, some players have learn some real valuable lessons in these games to get them ready, hopefully for a potential playoff run, I think is huge, and that, to me, that's not a whole lot different than the opening weekend of the NFL. I mean, I don't think it's on accident. The NFL, pits some great games, those first Thursday night game, the first Monday night games, those are some great games that are marquee matchups. And so the fact that we get to be one of those marquee matchups in week 2, I think is awesome.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to, again, obviously you want to win them all and you can't lose too many. So that said, do you think you're going to approach maybe October, if not maybe early November football differently, because you are knowing at that point in time you should be one of the 12, right? And you got to prep for that run. Like, it's a different season now in that regard. It
really is. It really is. And what's different for us too, unique for us now joining the SEC, is we really get 4 non-conference games before we start, regular season play, in essence, if you look at it that way. And so, the first month of the season, those first 4 weeks, not to mention with the heat that we're playing in, we really have to lean in and pour into our depth, because I think one of the worst things we could do is overwork our frontline guys too early in the season, knowing what the gauntlet of the SEC is going to look like. And then hopefully if we can do it right, what the gauntlet of a college football playoff would look like. And so I think that's where we really have to lean into our depth. And a lot of young players are going to have to play. And that's been something that has been point of emphasis of ours in training camp is getting really our developmental players, ready to play, if maybe not on offense, defense, at minimum on special teams.
Well, I would also imagine in this world of transfer portal, not like that's the way you operate and you're worried about it. Obviously you're in an outstanding spot with a lot going for it, without question. But I mean, playing kids and getting them ready, or making sure that the young kids are active, helps on that front too. I'm sort of like cobbling together the way things are in our new college football world with you, because nobody knows how this is going to work right now, Steve.
It's going to be unique. I mean, I think if nothing else, the college football playoff is going to be a different format. I mean, even that first weekend of the playoffs, that we're going to have home college football playoff games. We may have to go on the road back to Ann Arbor in week 1, of the playoff, or to Notre Dame, or we may host a team here, whatever that is. Right. And so I think that's a unique component to it. The length of the playoffs is a unique component. I think conference realignment is really intriguing for so many people this fall. And, so many people have complained about, conference realignment and rivalries, being lost throughout it. Quite frankly, for us, we gained 2 rivals back. The opportunity for us to play Texas A&M again, the opportunity for us to play Arkansas again, to go along with, the Red River rivalry against OU. Those things are fantastic for us, for our fans, for our players. But again, I think about all the time I spent at USC, the fact that USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten, and they're playing Penn State and Wisconsin. It seems unique to me. And so I'm intrigued as much as anybody just to kind of see how this season unfolds, and then the future of college football, how it unfolds.
Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian here on the Rich Eisen Show. So how do you handle a quarterback depth chart and quarterback room with a kid like Quinn Ewers, who came to your program and has shined there and is staying, and somebody who is incredibly anticipated in Arch Manning sitting there waiting a turn? How do you handle that, Steve?
Well, I think the first part is we're trying to develop those guys at where they're at in the stage of their career. And I think Quinn's development over his first 2 years in the program, now going into year 3, unequivocally, everybody who watches can see that. I think behind the scenes, the development Arch has had from year 1 to year 2 has been tremendous as well. And so, for us, hopefully Arch is going to get plenty of playing time. That means we're probably playing pretty good, and he's going to get plenty of opportunities to get out there. We need to play him. We need to get him in games. The limited action he got last year, he did a nice job. He's a very talented young man. He's got great work ethic, but I think the biggest thing is he's got a great appreciation for Quinn too. And what Quinn's gone through to get himself to this point. And so they've got great rapport with one another, great support with one another. That's not the first time we've had, multiple NFL type quarterbacks in the same quarterback room. So I think we handle it the right way. We're upfront. We're honest. We push all the guys in there to develop them to be the best they can be, with the goal that when your number is called, you can go out there and play really good football.
How has Arch improved, and how can you measure that?
Well, our practices are extremely competitive, and I can see the development in his understanding of our scheme, protections, progressions. He's really developed physically. He's a really well put together guy. He can run. He's extremely athletic, probably more athletic than his uncles, maybe a little bit more like his grandpa. But we'll see. I'm sure he'll hear about that from Peyton and Eli.
You're just telling the truth, Steve. You're just a truth teller. That's it.
But again, the one thing I love about Arch is his rapport with his teammates. He is an awesome teammate, and I think that he gets along with all of those guys. And that's one of the most key ingredients to be a great quarterback. You got to make sure that the guys around you are playing good football too. And they all want to play well when he's in there. And so it's a lot of fun. But you just don't feel, so many teams go out there, the backup goes in, and you feel a drop off. We're pretty fortunate. Arch is a very talented guy. He operates our system well. So we're in a good situation. Do
you have a good comp for Quinn Ewers? Anybody you've coached in the past? College, pros? Any good comp for me on that front, Steve Sarkisian?
That's a tough one, man. I struggle with the comps and or the who was the best one you coach. This guy's got a natural ability to throw the football. It's so effortless for him. He's a better athlete than people think. I was joking with him last year. I think we were 5 or 6 games into the year, and he was leading the country for quarterbacks rushing touchdowns. I said, Quinn, no one would have thought that was you, but he's probably a better athlete than most people think, but he can make all the throws. And he's got, NFL arm talent. He's got NFL, head on his shoulders, and he's a great leader. So we're fortunate to have him.
Steve Sarkisian, Texas football head coach here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk a little bit about the kids you just sent to the next level. Xavier Worthy. Give me a good story about how fast this kid is.
The best story about him is his ability to run that fast all of the time. and that was something that you sometimes we kind of took for granted in practice. His ability to practice with full speed, elite speed all of the time. The practice habits were really incredible. And that's hard for guys to do. And, they'll give you one, post route or go ball, but then to be able to turn it over and do it again and again and again is something that I think is why he can, you run fast because you practice running fast. And that's something that he did in practice day in and day out. And I think it shows. And it's probably, I see all the clips from Kansas City's practices of him making these explosive plays, because I just don't think he takes any plays off.
Well, I got to tell you, the moment at the combine, I'm, fortunate to do what I do for a living outside of this microphone, where I'm sitting in the booth with Daniel Jeremiah. He just ran, I think, a 4.25 unofficial, and he's got one more run at it. And we're just wondering, is he going to do it again? DJ, he's like, he's close. He's got to do it again. The fact that he did it again and then broke the record is truly one of the most breathtaking moments I've had in front of a microphone in my career. I'm getting goosebumps just even reminding myself of it. Just I don't know what it was, his sense of competition or entertainment value, because there was a ton of fans there that wanted him to do it, and then he did it. Then he accomplished it. I'll never forget it. Never in my days forget it.
I think one thing about our program is our guys do love to compete. And I love the way that all our guys competed at the combine when they went. I don't think anybody thought A.D. Mitchell was going to run what he ran.
Right.
I watched Jordan Whittington do what he did. I watched Keelan Robinson or Jonathan Brooks there, even though, he couldn't work because of the knee, but he was there the whole time. And so, Byron Murphy. And so hopefully for us, Rich, that, I think we had 11 guys drafted last year, 11 guys at the combine, that becomes really the norm for us, plus or minus 1 or 2 guys year in and year out, where now that Texas Longhorns are back at the NFL combine, they're back part of the NFL draft, and, first round picks and double digit guys getting picked year in and year out.
And you want to talk about a elite from year 1 to year 2, the expectation level for Bijan is through the roof in Atlanta. What's your conversations with him in any way, shape, or form that you can sort of give us a light on year 2? He's got a new scheme, new coaching staff. What can you?
Yeah. He's pumped about Raheem. Raheem and I worked together for 2 years in Atlanta. He became one of my best friends. And I just think Raheem's personality and Bijan's personality is a great mix. They're going to get along extremely well. And that's half of it, right? You want to be pushed as a player, but you want to have that rapport, especially with your head coach. And so he's such a talented young guy. And I know that last year was a tough year. It's always a tough year, your first year in the league, and then you're not winning. And what does that feel like? What does that look like? But to bring Raheem back and to bring that offense, back in something that is very similar to what he did in college with us, I think that he's got a really good feel for what they're doing, how they're going to use him, and he's extremely positive about it.
When did you realize he was that special? When was the first time?
Well, I had recruited him. I just didn't get him. I lost. He came to Texas. I was at Alabama. We tried to get him there. And so when I got here, I turned on the tape from the season before, and I actually had watched their bowl game, oddly enough, against Colorado, and he had a huge game in the Alamo Bowl. And I'm like, man, I remember that kid. He was really good. The thing about Bijan that sometimes gets overlooked, he's a better human being than he is football player. And so that sometimes he's such a nice guy that overshadows how much of a dog he is in between the lines. I mean, he is a fantastic player and a guy who can really do everything.
Last one for you. Were you surprised Saban retired, Steve Sarkisian?
Surprised? No. I knew it was inevitable at some point it was going to come. I would not have predicted it had been, without him winning one more national title. I always feel like the greats find a way to ride off into the sunset after they win one more. And I know they obviously got extremely close, just as we did. Both those semifinal games came down to the last play. But what a tremendous career he had. And what a impact he had on my life, not only as a coach, but as a person and a man. Forever grateful to him. But I think he's loving life right now. I think he's doing great on TV.
Yeah.
I think he loves playing golf, and so he's. I think he's in a good spot.
Well, I heard he's also trying to figure out the Rubik's Cube of NIL and portal and everything about the future of the game as well, right?
He definitely has an impact on that. And guys like myself or Kirby or Lane and, all of us, we still tap into him. The guy's just a plethora of information and knowledge. And so, he is working, I think, with the SEC and college football and how to keep making our game better.
Well, Steve Sarkisian, it's very rare for me in this business to talk to somebody and have a good time talking to that person who has the potential to make me very miserable in about a month's time. But
hey, are you coming to the game?
No, that's week 1 of the NFL season. So, yeah, I mean, that's a big weekend in football in Michigan. Your game with the Wolverines, and then the Lions host the Rams that next night for the first Sunday night game. It's going to be a huge football weekend in Michigan. Yeah. So, no, I will not be. Why? Did you want to,
I thought maybe you'd be honorary captain or something.
No. Have you passed that through your minister of Quan or what's his? I don't know what his
minister
title
of
is.
Culture.
Yes, the culture minister would. I don't know if McConaughey would say yes to that one.
Yeah, well, I was just checking.
He'd probably give me a shovel and say, "Follow Bevo around," is what he would say on that night. But I appreciate the time. Good luck to you, Steve. I really always appreciate our conversations. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. See you, buddy.
You got it. Steve Sarkisian, everybody, head coach of Texas Longhorn football, who, again, can make me very, very miserable the first weekend of and it's a good weekend for me professionally. You know what I mean? Like, it's big for me. Weekend. NFL Network, Sunday game day morning.
Great weekend.
Sunday game day morning. I've got a 4 a.m. call time the day after that game.
Fire up the PJ. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, God. The pajamas?
Just,
Really?
I don't know.
Peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, exactly.
We know people. Just saying.
Peanut jelly? I don't know what you're referring to. The Rich Eisen Show PJ.
Okay.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.